I might be brought into question when I tell the wrong group of people that some of my favorite shows are The Prince of Tennis and for cartoons, SpongeBob SquarePants. Like, SpongeBob is a bit more understandable because that show is widely beloved, but specifically the way I watch SpongeBob is a bit worrying because I grew up from a very young age just watching hours and hours and hours of SpongeBob on television, and I was absolutely enthralled with it. I wasn't doing other things while I was watching it. Like, sometimes I was playing with toys or talking to someone or dealing with other things, but most of the time I was completely viewing it. I wasn't distracted at all. I was just viewing it, what is meant to be a passive experience, in a full manner, and I did this from a very young age. SpongeBob is obviously good. It's not like a soap opera, where soap operas are meant to be these passive experiences that aren't good, that clearly have a low budget because the filmography is awful and all the acting isn't good. SpongeBob is more paced to be this television show. They've made tons and tons of episodes of it. They air a whole bunch of them. If you watch those episodes back to back, it's constant background noise and there isn't a whole lot going on. It's just they tell some jokes or they do some cool world building stuff where it's like, oh yeah, SpongeBob goes out and he's in a cave and he's a freaking caveman for a while. You know, side story. Not to suggest that SpongeBob has a main story in the first place. In general, the show is sort of this slow burning experience because it is meant to be passively viewed. If most people sat there and marathon SpongeBob, they wouldn't like it, not because they had some sort of disdain for the show, but because they would get bored and they would want to go to something else, because I am marathoning a television cartoon that is meant to be watched in the background for children. And this is where my tastes differentiate, because I still watch hours and hours of SpongeBob each day. I mean, less so than I used to, because barely go into the TV room anymore, so I don't have much pull over the TV room. Plus, they play The Loud House on Nickelodeon all the time. It used to be that, oh yeah, SpongeBob used to almost be the only thing on Nickelodeon, other than like some premieres, and sometimes they would rerun All Grown Up, but that was sort of during the earlier stages of me watching Nickelodeon, because I've been watching SpongeBob since 2004. I want to try to find them, but I have, old videos of me as a wee boy just watching TV and doing stuff. So I've been watching this show for a long time. I can actually remember when I was 3 years old watching SpongeBob, and I would watch it for hours every day, and I continually did that until I was like 12. When I was 13 and 14, I still did it, but I didn't do it nearly as much as I did from that period of time until I was 12. I've seen some episodes hundreds of times, so there's clearly this aspect of being engrossed in this type of experience, and having that be a fundamental aspect of my upbringing with television, which is where I want to get to the shows that I like now, because one of my favorite anime is a show called The Prince of Tennis. Now, this show is over 170 episodes long. I think it's 173. They've made more seasons of it now, but what really matters is the length of the first show. So this show came out, and immediately it's a sports show. What do sports have the connotation with? Passive viewing. Sports are a normal thing that most normal people just have on. They just sort of sit around with the sports on. They might read during it. They might cook food. It's not meant to be something you just sit there and you are entirely engrossed in. Now, I myself am a fan of football, not football, soccer, essentially, for all my American viewers, and I like tennis and a few other sports and hockey. These experiences are meant to be passive, and I watch these things with full intent. I sit down, I'm ready, I'm watching the thing with full focus. This is not what everyone does. And I would say the same for The Prince of Tennis, where, of course, I'm reading subtitles, so this helps, But if you're reading subtitles, I think for most American or Western English speaking viewers, they would just stop the show. Like Weeb Trash Productions, he stopped the show in episode in. He hated it for one of the reasons being that it was a boring sport. That's one of the core appeals of the show for me. And you see the difference in values here. I value these very slow, passive experiences, whereas everyone else who watches things in the anime community care more about frantic action or dense narratives. I hate Bakemonogatari. Bakemonogatari is a show with very densely layered conversations. Even though I think they're pretentious and terrible, you cannot deny the fact that there is density there and there are things to think about if you care about that story, if you care about the way it's paced. Which I don't care about the way it's paced. The way Monogatari is built is not built in a way that I can relate to it, so I don't care. But for someone like Weeb Trash Productions, that is clearly not the case, which is fine. It's a difference in upbringing. It is a difference in worldview. With The Prince of Tennis, there are these long episodes where there are either just matches or people going off and doing things. Like the matches are the set piece, but all the time you spend off the matches are thought of as these more filler throwawayable things, and those are actually some of my favorite episodes of the show because they give it a pace. It's not just frantic, fast matches happening all the time. You sort of get these moments to just digest your food and enjoy the experience of it all. And not everyone will find meaning in that. Not everyone will enjoy that, but I do, because I am used to watching hours of television that is not meant to be taken seriously or consumed with any type of focus. Clearly, these episodes were built to be episodes of television, to be things you put on the television, it's on. And it comes on just every week, so, you know, it's not too much in your head. But for me it is. That's the core difference in worldviews here. This is why I can enjoy these shows so much, is because I grew up this way. And so many of these shows resonate with me far more than they do with other people. And beyond this sort of broad topic, I do want to make analysis videos on some of the more individual elements of this show and a lot of others in this type of vein, and talk about the other elements of value that they present to me, other than the sheer fact that I can enjoy something that's meant to be passive consuming. If you are in the same mindset or in the same taste that I am, you can actually find a lot more cool stuff about these shows, especially if you watch a lot of them, because that way you're sort of accustomed to what they do, and you can find all the tropes and whatnot and completely understand that type of show. And it's really a great thing because you're in tune with this thing that is just yours. You're in tune with this type of taste that only you can have, and you can talk about it and actually understand it. So I want to talk about anime from a more personal perspective in the future. Sort of go through all that. It's a good meme. It is the good.